There's a giant civil war that's unfolded between Donald Trump and some of the biggest political speakers. People used to say there was so much infighting on the left. Oh, the left, they eat their own. Well, they got the president in the mud with them slinging shit. From Donald Trump, he goes, I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have nuclear weapons, ChatGPT because they have one thing in common: low IQs. They're stupid people. They know it. Their families know it. Everyone else knows it. This guy's got to be one of the dumbest people. He actually talks like a fifth grader when he insults people. I mean, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, all of these people, by and large, are exponentially more intelligent than Donald Trump. Stupid people. Look at their past, look at their record. They don't have what it takes. They never did. They've all been thrown off television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They're nut jobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. All of this smearing is so stupid that it's making me even have to defend these people. But to say that Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Candace Owens are irrelevant when vast majority of them have views that dwarf cable news, and like even mainstream politicians feel the need to go do an interview with Tucker Carlson.
But is it delusion, or he's trying to spin a narrative? He can't let go. He just got to run with it.
Now they get some clicks because they have a third-rate podcast, but nobody's talking about them. And their views are the opposite of MAGA, or I wouldn't have won the presidential election in a landslide. MAGA agrees with me and just gave CNN a 100% approval rating of Trump, not hand-flailing fools like Tucker Carlson, who couldn't even finish college. And he was broken man when he got fired from Fox, and he's never been the same. Perhaps he should have seen a good psychiatrist. Or Megyn Kelly, who's nastily asked me now the famous only Rosie O'Donnell question, or crazy Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man when she is not. And hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is far more beautiful than Candace Owens. In fact, it's not even close. Or bankrupt Alex Jones, who says some of the dumbest things and lost his entire fortune, as he should have.
Bro, you know how he defends himself? He defends himself like Fresh and Fit would. That's a Fresh and Fit diss track.
Yeah.
Done by AI. It's just it's ongoing rants of him just going off. Saying that, like, he's trying to downplay who they are and what they have. Like, the numbers of Candace Owens, you can't put that to the side.
Losers in capital letters. These so-called pundits are losers, and they always will be. Now, fake news, CNN, the failing New York Times, and all the radical left news organizations are hailing them and giving them positive press for the first time in their lives. They're not MAGA. They're just losers.
If somewhere in that big ass rant, it would be written, they're all poo-poo heads, I would be like, yeah, that's him.
It is so embarrassing, but I also don't feel bad for any of these pundits because, like, you see Candace Owens here say, it may be time to put grandpa up in a home. So people are speaking back, all the people who got insulted by him because they're not taking, her post is very popular.
And for faithful Christians, it is still the biggest day of the year.
He's talking about Easter morning.
And it's a day of joy. The thing every person fears most is death. We're born fearing it because we're born knowing it's coming.
Yeah.
And Christianity, unique among religions, promises victory over it. And Jesus' resurrection is proof that God can beat death. And so the morning of Easter is a uniquely joyful and peaceful moment. And yet that peace yesterday was shattered. That's not an overstatement. It was shattered for many observant Christians by a statement that the President of the United States put out at 8:03 a.m. Eastern time on Easter morning. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. 3 exclamation points. Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. All caps. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump.
Truly the dumbest person Like the incompetency and how fucking goofy this guy looks to the whole world. And then he backs down, right? That's why they call him Taco, because he's a giant pussy and he never falls through, which, you know, in this case is a great thing because he's just not going to be murdering millions of people. Open the fucking strait. And the Iranians are like, we don't care, bro. Like, we don't take you seriously. And
you know what it makes me think of? We are! It's the same energy. Yelling a whole lot, not doing shit. Presidents and prime ministers talking shit on Twitter. On Twitter? Well, what else? Lol emojis, them saying, yo, for real, my guy, open the strait. Anyways, president out, 6-7. What is going on?
I genuinely think it's just like, I think it's an education thing. This is like the people who this appeals to are like generally low IQ, stupid people. The people who like enjoy this kind of lack of professionalism and incompetence are people who are like, fuck man, this is entertaining, so it's got to be good. But like, they're just too stupid to realize that this is going to negatively impact them in the long run.
Long term. They don't even realize the short term.
Fair point. The short term, everyone is, you know, making moves behind the scenes to start adjusting their economies, their passageways in regards to commerce, all the things that are happening in the background to start now decoupling from the United States. Those are hard to feel.
Now, a lot of people reading that imagined, of course, this can't be real. Did the president of the United States really just write that? And it is real. It is maybe the most real thing this president has ever done, and also the most revealing. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military, our military, to destroy civilian infrastructure in another country, which is to say to commit a war crime, a moral crime against the people of the country, whose welfare, by the way, was one of the reasons we supposedly went into this war in the first place. They're being killed by their government. We have to rescue them. And now here's our president, not even a month and a half into the conflict, which we are not winning, by the way, because the Straits of Hormuz are not open. There's one way to keep track. That's the measurement. Saying that we're going to use our military to kill the civilians of this country who didn't choose the war. They got nothing to do with it. They're like civilians everywhere. Blow up their bridges? Bridges on military bases? No, just bridges and power plants.
I just don't understand why he would think this man's above that. He literally sat by and watched Israel do that to Gaza, do that to the West Bank, encouraged it, helped it, funded it, sent the missiles used to actually do it. What made you think this man's above bombing some brown folks?
In a country of almost 100 million people. What happens when a modern country, and a country that has a nuclear program is a modern country, Iran is a modern country. What happens when it loses power? Well, people die. Babies connected to incubators die. People in hospitals die. And those are the first level effects. And then people begin to starve. And then you have refugee crises. People leave the cities looking for food. And yes, they move into other countries. In the region, in Europe, in the United States, you cause chaos and death. It's totally unacceptable. Not under the phony laws of some international body, but under moral law, God's law, non-combatants, people who did nothing wrong, who didn't choose this war. We're just people created by God. That is immoral. That will never be moral. That can never be justified. That is always wrong.
You know, also, I will say Tucker doing this whole pearl clutching about like, you know, it's not very Christian on Easter Monday. What was Christian about this man ever? The infidelities, the grabbing by the pussies, the hanging out with Epstein, the vulgarity, the murdering people, the stealing the oil from foreign countries because he wants the resources. This dude was a pillaging warlord. What was Christian about him ever? That's why, like, a lot of the outrage now, while it is correct, the people saying it look so phony. That's why I say all these people strike me as giant grifters. Very popular grifters, but grifters no less. Because this man was who he was the whole time. You know what it makes me think of? That Dave Chappelle joke. Oh, you was part of the heist. You just didn't like your cut. So now you want to be out here snitching, talking about he's the criminal. Bitch, you was driving the car.
You was right with him.
And they all saw the behavior. But now they want to do a double take because now it's expedient for them politically.
I understand what you're saying. That's a fair point. It's crazy to look at them, to see them act and be like this shit was brand new. Oh, where were you?
And this is an example of that condition. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. So obviously you're mocking the religion of Iran.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Bravo.
If you seek a religious war, that's a good idea. But by the way, no decent person mocks other people's religions. You may have a problem with the theology. Presumably you do if it's not your religion. And you can explain what that is to mock the idea of faith itself. And we should never mock that. Because at its core is the acknowledgement that we are not in charge of the universe. We did not build it. We won't be here at the end of it. We can destroy life. We cannot create it because we are not God. The message of all faith, at the biggest picture picture level is the message in our Bible, which is you are not God. And only if you think you are do you talk this way. But it's not just mockery of Islam. And no president should mock Islam. That's not your job. This is not a theocracy. We don't go to war with other theocracies to find out which theocracy is more effective. We are not a theocracy. And God willing, we never will be.
I'm actually surprised. I thought you would have said America is a Christian nation, but maybe I'm wrong on that. That's actually surprising because I've always thought that was his vision for the States.
It's written on your dollar bills, "In God we trust." Like,
I do agree with him. The president in a normal world has no business mocking other religions. And like, for the simple reason that it's just bad for diplomatic ties. If we're having like a real serious adult conversation, you can't love the president making deals and at the same time disparaging a religion this way, gleefully talking about murdering and wiping out a Muslim civilization and talking about praise be to Allah. Just think about how bad that is for you diplomatically with a lot of Muslim nations.
you're saying it's bad for diplomacy or bad for everything. Like, he didn't just go to Japan and said to the Japanese prime minister, "Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor?" He visited so many countries where he disrespected people, where he's been there. So now just doing that and just mocking religion is bad for the... He's been doing that. He called our prime minister the governor of the 51st state. This guy thrived on disrespect.
America's built up goodwill with many countries and many states all across the world since World War II. This is truth. Like, Japan relations with America were extremely positive post-World War II, extending up until the next little period. Same with South Korea. After the Americans helped them out with the invasion of North Korea and China and helped beat them back, the relationship between these two countries was strong. Go poll public sentiment today. It is in the gutter. So you say, yeah, he went over there, he did that. I agree. The only reason these things are still extending is the goodwill that's been accumulated from years and years of hard work. It doesn't take much to tear a building down. It takes a lot longer to build it back up. So you're right. You're not wrong about what you're saying. But I would say that just because he can does not mean that's a reflection of his power. It's a reflection of the work that's been done from decades of decent or good foreign policy. If you go to any of these countries now and you poll the way the sentiment of the people in these governments are towards America compared to what it was before, it is night and day. Everything is down. And so it becomes incumbent on the next administration to try to recover that, and the damage may be too far gone. And it might be a new face, it might be a more moderate face, it might be a better face, but the damage of a goddamn stupid person like this is hard to quantify, and that's why I say change is incremental. We won't know how bad it is until we look back 10 years from now and we go, wow, this point in history is the point where everything changed for us.
No, this is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity. To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians. Oh, I get it. We can't support that. Under no circumstances can we support that. Doesn't mean you have to hate Trump or take the opposite position on every issue from Trump. You shouldn't. A lot of his positions are the right positions, but you cannot support that. That is evil. That is an intentional desecration of beauty and truth, which is the definition of evil. What we're doing is revealing that we've exhausted conventional power. If there's some tricky way to open the Strait of Hormuz by air, probably would have done it by now, because we are on a path to plunge the world into global depression and famine.
True.
And that's not hair on fire panicanism. That's math. 30% of the world's fertilizer, 20% of its energy. Yeah, that's a global depression and famine.
I will say, of all the people who do politics and do this kind of like monologuing, public speaking, Tucker's probably one of the best ones. He's just like, you can tell the way he organizes his sentence, the way he makes his points, the inflection point. I'm not like a crazy fan, but just watching public speaking, I will say the guy is he keeps your eyes glued. You can see why he was very popular on Fox and why he's still popular now. I think of all the people on the right, this has got to be the biggest person. Bigger than Charlie Kirk, bigger than everyone, even bigger than Candace Owens. I think Tucker, to me, is definitely the biggest, and it's in large part because of his ability. Oh, someone said I'm tripping. Someone said I'm tripping. Hey, listen, I don't like Tucker, but he's good. And this is not something you can train. This is not something that you give someone a class on. There's a certain charisma. There's a certain delivery. Me personally, just watching him and paying attention to the tonality, everything, the way he delivers his words. He's reading from a teleprompter, but you get an emotional pull when you listen to him. Yeah, I mean, you can hate the person, but you can still acknowledge the skill. At the end of the day, he gets the results, and it's not because people put him in front of the screens. He's popular whether he's on TV or not.
That was the day that the president announced the arrest of the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. The problem was why we did it and why the president told us he did it, and that was for the oil. So in the days before that operation in early January, the president tweeted out, sent out on his Truth Social account, and also said in public, we're doing this because we want the oil, because that oil belongs to the United States.
Yep.
He never explained how exactly the United States would own the natural resources of a foreign country. Apparently, American oil companies helped develop the oil fields in Venezuela. Therefore, we own the oil. That was the idea, and they stole it from us. But there was no real effort to explain how that works, how that makes any sense at all. Instead, you had the President of the United States say, we need the oil. Oil's really important. True and true. Therefore, we're going to take it. And therefore, apparently, we did. In the days after that operation, the successful removal of the president of the country and the installation of his vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, as president, our president, Donald Trump, held a widely publicized on-camera meeting with the heads of American oil companies and talked through how we're going to split up the natural resources of Venezuela and why this is great for America. So why should Christians have paused at exactly that moment and asked, can I still support this? Is this what I voted for? Is this what I want? Is this acceptable? And the reason is really simple, because Trump at that moment revealed that the motive was taking something that we wanted. And that's not acceptable for Christians. In fact, that's not acceptable for Americans or any civilized people, because taking other people's stuff by force cannot be allowed. In fact, preventing that is the basis of our legal code. If there's one thing that every person knows, that is, in a civilized country, you can't steal without penalty. It's not allowed. That doesn't belong to you.
Was he not at the White House? Look at that. Look who's there. Clapping. He's over there booty popping for his president after he just captured the Venezuelan president. And then you have this.
Justine Carlson is crazy. You saying that Tucker's popping his for Trump? It's crazy.
And he's definitely in a white boy frat house by the looks of that room and the demographics. It's like watching the worst grifter you know make all the right points. What he's saying is correct. If you really were someone of faith, someone who held Christ close to your heart, you would look at Trump's behavior and realize it's not Christ-like. He's not kind. He's not gracious. He's not caring. He is greedy. He is boastful. He is arrogant. Hey, there's 7 deadly sins. Trump hits all 8 of them, okay? This man is a glutton. This man is fucking cheating on his wife. He don't care. He's all the worst aspects that you could imagine in someone in terms of how sinful he is and how bad he is. But Christians en masse support him because he's convenient. Even though his behavior is murderous and is the opposite of Christ. You can say whatever you want about Kamala. This man is further from Christ than she could ever be. Okay?
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
But they don't care because I don't know what it is about the Christian conservative right in America, but most of it is not very Christian. A lot of it is just like abortion is bad and like it stops there. Religious freedoms and abortion is bad. But a lot of the Christ-like behaviors, they don't care to have that from their politicians. They don't care about kindness and empathy and all these things. So he's right. But he doesn't believe this shit either. Because he sat there and he was booty popping for Trump.
The things you do will be done unto you. Once you set a standard, you will have to live by that standard. Write a law, you will be judged by that law. So if the new law is, I can take it because I want it, and I have more power than you, at some point, we can rest assured the tables will be turned, and the things that we want and cherish and have earned and that we own will be taken from us by force at the moment when some other power has more force than we do.
They've been
really
doing
simple.
that.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
The U.S. been doing that throughout the years, taking shit that don't belong to them. Like they went to Haiti with some rangers and decided to deplete our gold reserve. They did that. They invaded Haiti and just decided, let's roll through. Give us the keys. We're taking your gold. And they took the gold and they left. They did that to a bunch of stuff. That's been the standard of the United States for so long. And now you're surprised that this shit is happening now. They've been doing that. Before they were better at hiding it. Yes. They were just like, yeah, we have to go there for weapons of mass destruction. We never found them. Now it's just, this guy has no grace. He has no way of being tactful. He's full on. At least that's that. And that's one of the reasons why he got elected.
But it is, but those norms do matter. They do deter people. They do deter actions. Not always, but sometimes. And
Sure.
And the reality is that as you see things go more and more extreme, the exponential theft that can happen, the exponential damage and killing that can happen rises dramatically. I mean, look at the way Israel was reined in under previous administrations and was not able to do things. And then look at how they were able to exponentially move things forward over the last 2 administrations. As you deteriorate these norms, those with the worst intentions or those with the most extreme ideologies or extreme war behaviors have free power to do whatever they want. There are no checks and balances anymore. So you are right. You are right that that has been a thing for a long time, but not to this degree, not to this speed, and not to this extreme. That does say something because then it makes it extremely acceptable for everyone else. And when it becomes just sort of like the whole might is right all over the world, you know, a lot of small countries better start shaking in their boots. A lot of places that were safe, even though they didn't have no military because of world standards, that shit not gonna last. At least that's what it feels like right now. I don't think there's anything that could happen militarily now that would really shock me.
Except nukes. That would shock you.
Oh yeah, well nukes is the reason why nukes is a big thing. Do you remember last time nukes was used? I'm almost certain it's World War II is the last time a nuke was used. The reason why it hasn't been used since is very, very simple. If people start letting the nukes fly, the whole planet's gone. They're a deterrent. And at the end of the day, unless you're ready to kill yourself, you're just not going to throw it. And most people, no matter what they say, are not suicidal. Governments are not suicidal. That's why their kids go to fucking American prep schools and live good lives. That's why they fatten their bellies and protect themselves and ensure that they have power forever. These people are not just wanting to kill themselves in their whole country. That's why people just don't use them. They get them so that you can't fuck with them or threaten them with one, but they're not trying to use it. That's just been the case. And that's why we haven't seen them used in 80 years. So people might think like, oh, Abba, you know, you're trusting. I don't trust that. I just trust everyone else's instinct to want to live. I don't think people are altruistic. I think people just don't want to get a whole government that wants to kill itself. Good luck. I think now we're seeing what happens when you want radical change and you really don't vet these people. I think people are too excited about the idea of change, too excited about ideas, and didn't care about resume. They promised to drain the swamp and all they got was a diaper full of his doo-doo.